Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. I didn't expect that night to change everything. Honestly, it was supposed to be just another Friday. Another networking party, a room full of small talk and pretenses. I'm Alex, 34, and I've always been someone who values honesty over appearances. I work in design, freelance mostly, and I like keeping my life quiet, structured, predictable. But that night, the unpredictability hit me like a freight train. Claire, my girlfriend of 3 years, had insisted on going together. She's lively, magnetic, the kind of person who fills a room without even trying. I like that about her, I do. But I've always been a little more reserved. Social gatherings drain me after a while, and I say that not to sound weak, just realistic. We arrived just as the party was hitting its rhythm. People were laughing, clinking glasses, the music thumping in a way that seemed to vibrate through the floors into your chest. I smiled, nodded at familiar faces, and tried to follow Claire as she floated from group to group. She was radiant, genuinely happy, but after about 20 minutes I noticed it. A tiny shift in her expression, a subtle tightening around her eyes. "Alex," she whispered, leaning close so no one else could hear. "I wish I'd come alone tonight." The words hit me in a way that was more than a little sharp. I froze for a second, trying to understand whether she meant it lightly, jokingly, or if there was something deeper. She wasn't joking. The way she said it, the softness, almost apologetic but unmistakably honest, made it clear. She felt trapped, stifled, annoyed. We walked to the balcony for some air. The music still thumped through the walls, laughter spilling from the rooms behind us, but up here it was quieter. I didn't say anything immediately. I studied her face, the flicker of vulnerability that she tried to mask with a smile. I realized something in that moment. For the first time in a long time, I was seeing Claire not as my girlfriend, not as the person I loved, but as someone who was telling me her truth, even if it hurt. "I didn't know you felt that way," I finally said, my voice calm even though inside it felt like everything had tilted on its axis. She shook her head. "It's not you, Alex. You're great. I don't feel like myself in these crowds anymore. I feel lost." It wasn't the words that got to me. It was the honesty, the courage it took to admit it, even gently. And in a strange way, I respected it. Most people pretend they're okay in situations like this. Laugh along, nod, swallow their feelings. Not Claire, she told me, straightforward, unfiltered, human. I stayed quiet for a while, letting the words settle between us. I could feel a tension in my chest, not the sharp kind, but the weight of awareness. Things weren't as simple as I'd believed. This wasn't about a party. This was about her, about me, about the spaces we occupied together and separately. Then a thought struck me, almost like a whisper from the back of my mind. If this party was making her feel trapped, uncomfortable, unhappy, maybe the solution wasn't to push through, smile politely, and endure the tension. Maybe the solution was simpler, even radical. What if she came alone next time? The idea wasn't impulsive. It wasn't vindictive. It was practical, thoughtful. She wanted freedom even for just a few hours. Why not give it to her? We went back inside. I stayed by her side, tried to engage in the conversation, laugh when appropriate, but my mind was elsewhere. I noticed her subtle glances, the way her shoulders relaxed when she wasn't around a group she felt obliged to entertain. I began thinking, planning, not in a manipulative way, but in a considerate one. She needed space. She had asked for it. I could honor that. The night continued with its usual cadence: introductions, laughter, awkward pauses, the occasional clink of a glass. I realized I was seeing everything differently. Every interaction, every smile, every casual remark now had a lens through which I viewed it. Not as background noise, but as signals. Signals of comfort, discomfort, engagement, avoidance. Later, when we stepped out for another breath of air, I looked at her. She was standing alone by the railing, a glass of sparkling water in her hand, watching the street below. There was a lightness in her posture, a subtle relief that I hadn't noticed before. "Claire," I said softly, "I think I understand what you need." Her head turned slowly, curiosity in her eyes. "Next time," I continued, choosing my words carefully, "you should come alone. No obligations. No me hovering. Just you. Free to be yourself." She blinked, surprised, then a small, incredulous smile spread across her face. "Really?" I nodded. "Yes, if it matters to you, I want you to be happy." That's all that matters. There was a pause. Just the faint hum of music from inside. The night air crisp and slightly chilly. She let out a soft laugh, the kind that reaches the eyes. Unguarded and real. And in that moment, I realized I hadn't just solved a social dilemma. I had taken a step into understanding, into maturity, into a quiet kind of love that didn't demand constant proximity but honored autonomy. A week later, the opportunity arrived. The same kind of gathering, a casual Friday evening with friends and colleagues, but this time Claire would attend alone. I stayed home telling myself it was just another evening, but inside I felt a strange mix of anticipation and calm. I wasn't anxious. I wasn't worried about missing out. I was curious. Curious about what freedom looked like for someone I cared about and what it meant for us. She walked out the door, and I watched her go with a quiet satisfaction. There was no dramatic gesture, no need for reassurance or validation. I simply let her step into the world without me, and for the first time, I realized how rare that kind of trust was in a relationship, giving someone autonomy without anxiety or control. Hours later, I received a text. Just one line, "Alex, I haven't felt this relaxed in years." "Thank you." Reading it, I smiled. Not because she needed to thank me, but because she had spoken her truth and I had listened without judgment. It was a victory in its own quiet way, a victory for honesty, for patience, for understanding. That night, while she was out, I reflected on everything we had experienced together, the laughter, the arguments, the shared moments of vulnerability. I realized how often relationships fail not because of malice, betrayal, or lack of love, but because people stop paying attention. They stop noticing the small shifts, the subtle discomforts, the quiet signals that speak louder than words. When she came back, the energy between us had shifted. She was lighter, more open, and I was surprised by how much space could change intimacy. There was no awkward recounting of the night, no need for debriefing. The freedom itself had reset something fundamental in both of us. "Alex," she said softly as she set down her coat, "I think I understand why you suggested this. I feel one better, and I think I can be better." Her eyes met mine, clear and honest, and I realized that this simple act, letting her choose solitude, had given her something she hadn't had in years: autonomy and the space to breathe. It reminded me that love isn't about constant presence, about filling every moment together. Love is about listening, noticing, and sometimes stepping back when it's hardest to do so. We spent the evening talking, more genuinely than we had in months. There was laughter, yes, but also honesty. Confessions about feelings we had hidden under politeness, unspoken irritations and small grievances that had grown quietly over time. And instead of those confessions sparking conflict, they sparked understanding. It wasn't instant perfection, of course. No single night can erase years of patterns. But it was a turning point. I realized that relationships thrive not when one person sacrifices constantly, or when both try to mold each other into idealized versions of themselves. They thrive when both people feel seen, respected, and free to exist as individuals while still choosing each other. The following weeks were different. Claire attended events, gatherings, even solo dinners, and each time the tension I had noticed before dissipated. She came home lighter, happier, more present. And I discovered something unexpected about myself. I didn't feel left out or abandoned. I felt trusted. I felt loved, in a quieter, deeper way than I had before. One night I sat beside her on the couch, the quiet hum of the city outside our window. I reached out and held her hand, and she didn't flinch. She smiled, a small, genuine curve of her lips. "I needed that space," she said. I didn't realize how much I was holding back. And in that moment, I understood something important about love, about respect, and about intimacy. It isn't always about proximity. It's about awareness of what the other person needs, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or contrary to your expectations. And sometimes giving someone what they ask for, not what you want, changes everything. By letting her come alone, I hadn't just given Claire freedom. I had given us both a new framework for connection. No resentment, no guilt, no unspoken frustrations. Just clarity, trust, and the quiet joy of being present with someone who chooses to be there. Not because they have to, but because they want to. Weeks turned into months, and the pattern held. Our relationship didn't just survive. It evolved. The space we allowed each other became the foundation for stronger, more authentic connection. Arguments were shorter, laughter more genuine, and every shared moment carried the weight of intention, not obligation. I often think back to that night, to her words, "I wish I'd come alone." At first, they felt like rejection, like a wound I wasn't prepared for. But now I understand they were a gift, a chance to see her fully and to see us clearly. That simple, honest statement reshaped everything, teaching me that sometimes the most profound acts of love aren't grand gestures. They're quiet, thoughtful decisions made in the service of respect, trust, and understanding. And so that night remains a turning point in my mind, a reminder that listening, truly listening and responding with care, even if it means stepping back, is sometimes the bravest, most transformative thing a person can do in a relationship.